Hello everyone, this is SimCity. I'm SpicyDog365, and today we're going to talk about a technique that I used in SimCity called Time and Patience XY debacle. And I'm going to show some examples of what works and what doesn't. It involves residence and commercial. We're going to start with resident. Looks like it's going to be a high. And now it's going to be an upper. So when I would see this, what I would do is I would take away the houses and replace it with park. And now what we're going to do is wait for the year 4519 June. Now I use June because number one, I'm used to starting at June, and then the time is going to be January, where if you don't get what you need, then you would need to try again. Okay? So it's 4519, now it's June. So you're going to take away the park, give a valid destination, and let's see what this does alone. Looks like we're getting highs again. Oh, makes it to a 1 and 2, a 3. Oh! And look at that. It made it all the way before January. That never happened when I ran an experiment for this. But, for the sake of example, let's wait till after January. Now it's February. Take away the rail. Now it's an upper. It's pretty cool that I got the high right away. But the way to fix this is you don't want to bulldoze. Wait for it to do this, gain all the houses, and fill it with park again. We're not going to go at June for 4520 because we've already hit the deadline. If we did put down rail, take away the park, it would still be an upper. So you have to wait for the following year, and when you do that, you should get high houses again. There's our June. Be careful not to bulldoze the zone. Now I guarantee that it shouldn't happen again. But if it does, that's pretty cool. Oh, a 2. And now upper. That's what I was looking for. So getting that high on camera was not something that happened when I tested this, just to make sure that I wouldn't be spending a 6, 7, or making an 8-hour video, just to say the least. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to reload the state, and we're going to do it again because we need examples, right? And one example I'm going to do is I'm going to actually have the rail this time with the resident. And we're going to see if anything is different. Hey, look at that. But it's February, so there's no point in holding on, because it won't get there. Take the houses away. Add the park. One thing you want to be careful of is, because of the bug for residents in this game, you'll want to be careful to not accidentally get rid of the park, lose the house because of the bug in the game, and then have it turn into a hospital. That's not what you ever want to have happen. So you need to be careful of that. Now it's June. We're going to put in rail. And this time I'm going to put in another resident. Give it a valid destination. And let's see what happens. And we are at a 2 high again. Let's keep fast forwarding until we get 3 upper. Well, that was fast. It's a 4 upper. So we're going to do one more thing. Actually 2, but one thing at a time. Hopefully everyone's doing well today. Okay. Same rules apply. And there we go again. I hope no one's getting dizzy from the windmill over there that you can barely see on the right side. We're going to wait again for 4519 June. Okay, and now what we're going to do is the same as we've done. Get the residential in. Valid destination. And the moment it flips from R1 to R2, let's add some zones and see if it changes anything. Oh, did you see that? It's approaching December, but I paused it on November. And it's an R3 high. See that? Let's see from the 3 commercials added if we can't hit an R4 high. And it went upper. So sometimes in the game you will need to add zones, bulldoze zones, or do nothing at all, and you might get lucky. Otherwise, you have to reset the game state, try again, and you will make save states along the way, right? Now, I'm going to show what I did to get this R4 high. And it doesn't matter if you add the rail or wait to do that later. I guess one thing you can test is if you get a high when adding rail, that it could be a good thing. And it might not. For the sake of the example here, it doesn't help it. So any instance you can add park to it, or as much as you can, because you don't really want to take away anything, right? And I know it seems annoying that we have to wait for 4519 June. Think about how many times I had to do this in the build, and the time adds up. Like, the moment you look at the clock, it doesn't even feel like you've been at the game for 45 minutes, and you've made very little progress. So that's what happened with the build. But now we're going to add the rail, add in the resident, give a valid destination, and we're going to do the same thing. Wait till it's an R2 high, and instead of doing horizontal, we're going to go vertical right next to it and see what happens. One thing I can explain is that it was supposed to go R4 high. However, I may have been late on the timing window. Let's try one more time and see if I can replicate what I did yesterday. This time we're not going to add the rail. What happens is, like with most games, there's a little thing called RNG. And that stands for the random number generator. So for all these examples and how the residential is reacting to everything we've done, really says a lot about how you can manipulate the game honestly without using infinite gifts, maximum RCI value, and this is nowhere near water, so you can't use water reclaim on land, and why would you want to, since that's considered cheating? And it is cheating, which is why I never did it, because I wanted an honest build. And so we're going to try this again, and I'm going to slow it. Let's not slow down. Let's just see what happens getting back to that position and see if we can make better happen. And there it is. There's the R4 high. And funny enough, this residential right here is the next one to work on in this given example. So we're going to keep the rail here for a valid destination. We're going to try to get more population. We don't mind what happens with this one, but we definitely want this one to do very well. So I'm going to do this, and then fast forward. So it looks like by the police department we're going to have an upper, and oh, hello, this one went upper. Well, not too big of a deal. Let's try this. It could have just been an improper rail position. Of course, it's a race against the clock, because it could develop and it might not. And look at that. I had the rail in the wrong spot, and as a result I had an upper. By moving the rail to a better spot, I got a high. And now I have a top. And so the only example needed is when you work with one residential. It could mean you have to work with another residential. You might actually have to get rid of residential or a commercial top or half of it. And so in situations like this, you might have to get rid of something and you might not. So I hope that example answers how to deal with residential. They're not always going to play the same. And when you try to put a residential back, what can happen is it was a top, but then you get upper. You wait till June, and it's still upper. And one thing you can look at when clarifying is the colors on the map. We have light greens, yellow, we have a couple, we have what looks almost like, I want to say Colby Jack cheese going on right here. But then you have some dark green spots. These darker green, not the darkest of green, mind you, but the next one up on this color chart, these might not work out well for trying to get a high to come back at all. If you were to, say, mess with this one because you're trying to get this to be a C5 high, or try to work on this one, or bulldozing sometimes the whole top you'd have to do just to get something to work, and then hope that you could get the top back. Another interesting component is and I lost my train of thought. Let me see if I can get it back. Anybody else have brain fog that occurs when you're trying to explain something? Oh, that's what I wanted to explain. Sometimes, like in this gray, mysterious area over here, the one thing you want to do, if things don't work right sometimes, is find a good color spot. Like these are light green. This is the third green in the chart for land value. What I had to do in some of my build is work from left to right when trying to get tops back, new tops, and progress, so I could move on to the rest of my build. So that's one thing, or a couple of things you would have to look at when dealing with time and patience XY debacle. And when dealing with the residential, the examples given, some work, others do not. And that's all I have to say about that for the residential. I'd be happy to do more examples, but I figured for the most part that I would set up the example with where I left off in tiling method and continue that way. And I just so happened to find an example that worked, and so I ran with it, and this is what we got. So I hope that helps answer the residential portion of X, or time and patience XY debacle. The next thing we're going to look at is getting a commercial top. And this is the commercial top we're going to look at. We're not going to look at the entire thing. We just want to get a top. So what I'm going to do is bulldoze quite a bit of stuff. So let's get the party started. This rail you don't want to mess with because it's on the T. Something I want to make a note of is when you are getting tops, you need to put the rail from the T up, or from the right side of the upper part of the top to the left on the vertical top to sustain it so you don't lose it. And in a horizontal top, you want T to the left and on the left side. And that does include the top part of the horizontal commercial top as well. So let's continue talking about the XY debacle. And I think I bulldozed everything that I needed to make it happen. First, we need to make sure this C5 high will have power. I don't necessarily need these power lines, but I'm going to do it anyway. And then you will supply park. And then I want to talk about the month we're on already and how this works, okay? I hope it makes sense. And we're just going to continue with it. And that should be it. Perfect, just like that. The month we were on is June. But I want to show something, and I know it's September now, and I didn't explain this yet. So notice how it didn't get rid of what was there. Well, let's stay here and fast forward and see if it catches up. Knowing my luck, it never does. Okay, gotta come out for a little bit. Oh, now it caught up and it's gone. But one interesting thing is, yeah, you see that change? And that's because it changed in January. You can have this happen on June when the screen transitions into like summertime, September when it's autumn, December and January when it's winter. It can happen practically any of those timing windows. The reason I choose June is because I'm used to it. And now that it's June, we want to put the commercial down. And it already has one tile of transportation. That's all you need. And let's see what happens. This example, I'm going to let it walk for itself. And it becomes an R2, or excuse me, C2 high. And there's nothing more to it. And now it's a C3 upper. So just leaving it alone doesn't help push this to what we want. So we have to try again. Now you can try again by deleting the zone and then putting it back with park. But this time you would have to wait till 4520 June. If you're me, you go to June at least. Otherwise, you can do this as long as you have a way to identify if it's orange or higher, because you need orange to get a top. And if you don't have orange, you're not going to get a top. Now some would say C5 upper is good, C5 high next to another C5 high but no top is just fine. And notice how it didn't flip this time. This is that RNG I was talking about. So whatever the variable is going on in the background definitely changes. Now, it made it to C5 upper, and that's not terrible. That's super good. But understanding that you need yellow and higher to make that happen is the reason we got it. And that's acceptable because it's fully developed. But if we're going for a top, this is not what you want to see. So we're going to do that exercise again. I know that this is painful, not just for me, but it's got to be for all of you watching, because that's a lot to get rid of, right? Like, you wouldn't do that normally. But sometimes you have to just yank the chain a little bit and, make it happen. And it's not easy. I will never identify this as easy. But it is necessary. Okay? There are a couple instances where a zone will go from 0 to 10 seconds a C5 high. And that's not easy to replicate. It's the spur of the moment. And I've had it happen with residential after the houses, and I've had it do with the commercial as well. But again, it's not easy to pull off. So we're going to put the zone down again. And we're going to go to C2 high. Build a couple commercials. See if that helps. And it does. Build a few more. And that didn't do anything. And I can tell you right now, this alone will only get it to this. We're going to do that one more time. Oh, I know. Pain. Pain, pain, pain. Not what you would ever do normally in this position. But I'm going to show how to get the top. Or, you know what? I am going to show. I'm going to show how to get the top this time. And then we might look at one more example. Okay? Making sure everything is good. We didn't take the rail off of the vertical top. Going to add the park. I guess I should be looking at the map on one of these examples to make sure that we gain an understanding of what we are looking for in terms of, yes, we're going to get a top. No, that's not the right color, so we get whatever develops. So we're going to take the time to look at this. We're going to put this in first. We're going for the top this time. So see how this right in here, it hasn't given any placement whatsoever around this commercial. Well, it isn't September yet. So I'm going to put the two zones in now, but before we continue, now it's showing orange or better, right? And this is where we are working. One thing I'm going to teach, you see all these rectangular blocks? These are tops. Anything that's square is an individual zone. These two are individual zones. These two green ones are the ones I just placed. And then we look at land value, and we have orange or greater. So let's get that top. That's funny. That's exactly what I did in the example. I wonder why things aren't working for me today. Maybe it's because I was in the map. But as you can see, bulldozing the residential tops that I had pushed it to C5 high. These three helped push it to C4, and these two helped it to C3. Okay, this time we're not going to look at the map. This will be probably the last time I do this. Not that it's not fun. I mean, you know, it is. It's a learning moment, and learning is always good. It's always nice to have someone that can teach and hopefully share a secret or a topic that is maybe not well known, or maybe it is. And the more you do it, the better it gets. It's not always going to be easy no matter what. It's always going to be an effort. Hopefully not a 45-minute effort just to get one top, because I know I've done that. And that's not something everybody has time to do. But if you're lucky enough to sit at it, giving it the time long enough and all that, you should be able to make it work. Now there's one question. Does it matter amongst the residential, the industry, or the commercial, police, fire, seaport, stadium, coal, nuclear, or airport, what you put in when developing a zone that is too stubborn to work on its own? And the answer is it does matter. If I put residential down, I know it's not going to work. If I put industry down, it might not work either. But what I found for this example is completely commercial zones for the most part. And that's really all I got to say about this. Is it's a lot of timing. If you time it wrong, it won't work. And you have to be very cautious on how you present it, right? So I'm going to do this again. And did you notice that I got a top? So what I'm going to do now, and for the sake of not losing my residential top over here, I'm going to put residential back, valid destination, follows the line, gets to a valid destination because it can't go backwards to the police. How funny it would be if it worked that way, because then you would only need 2. But I'm also supporting this because of this, not because of this. This one is for this. This one here is this line following for this police. And then this destination for this residential top here. That's really all that's going on with that. So we're just going to go ahead and put the zones back in. And there's not a lot going on other than zone placement. And now we have to look at things. So valid destination, yep. Valid destination going up 1. Valid destination, not a valid destination. And so we need rail. Not in the calculation, but is helpful right here. So follows, good enough for this. And get rid of debris. And everything else looks good. We'll take care of hospitals and schools. The reason I'm doing this is because there's one other example I would like to show. I hope that it will surface. It has nothing to do with this residential developing into a mid. That's fine. The upper is good. The mid is good. Off screen. The upper is happening. The high is happening. Everything is golden. Except for the commercial zone that was an upper. But it looks like I'm not going to get the example today. One thing is I want these two, these two, these two, and these two, right? And that's fine. But if there's one example, and maybe these two will surface, and then I'll get to show a technique that can save you a little bit of time. But we have to hope first that it happens. Come on, make it happen. Please make it happen. Don't do it. Don't do it. Hey, it did it. This is great. So, this is not what I wanted, right? Two solutions. You can bulldoze it, yes. Not this one particular, but this one. And then you'll get what you need. However, depending where your rail is, you can do one other thing. By taking away the rail, you can save yourself some time and not have to worry about hospitals. Wait for it to break up, put the line back, and do this as many times as you need until you get a top. Well, not the same top, but it's funny how that was in decent timing. We're going to try again. And we got the top that we wanted. And this one's in prime position. You have to just wait to take the line away, because if you do that, you're going to do what I called a lot of experimenting terms where I didn't put rail down for a zone, and I called it flushing it down the toilet, because you want to see as the months pass if it's going to go from upper to high. And if it does, you can then continue. For this example, it's not necessary because the gift is doing what it needs to do. And since the bottom half isn't calculating anything other than just being there and good in the long run, we can then put in more zones. The reason I had to get rid of that residential is to get this one to come back. And I got a hospital, which I guess ends the session. But that's something to look into. And going for this upper, you would have to do quite a bit. And it does, in fact, mean having this be gone first, and then develop this into an upper, and then fight to get this one as a high and a top. And so I hope those examples demonstrate well enough what can happen when you leave a zone, and then when you start adding zones, it changes the RNG, and then this moves up a level, and then you add some more, and it changes again, and then you do a few other things, and you can make it even better. And then this over here, I'll just have to get back, but don't have to worry about that. Making sure I didn't save state by accident. And then, yeah, going back to my completed city. Yes, there are uppers and mids, but if they're not going to top, then it doesn't matter, and you can just put them in whenever. The nice thing is, for areas like this, it was pretty tough, so you can't get rid of the police department, because then you have everything else kind of dance, and you don't want it to do that. So getting rid of this is safe while trying to develop a residential top. And the same could be applied if we were going for a commercial top. So I hope that makes sense. Hello, airplane. Hello, helicopter. And that's really all I have to say about time and patience XY debacle. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment. I will try to answer to the best of my ability what I maybe didn't show or could have shown or done a better job of for residential and commercial. But for the most part, I hope that helps out anybody that wants to use it, as long as it's included as an honest part of the build. Because again, I can't bulldoze the water for water reclaim because I don't have it on. And that's a good thing, because in an honest build, you don't want that. Okay? So, just to prove that this city is as honest as can be, we're going to take away the big 3 as a bonus to this video. And aside from losing the R-top because it doesn't have a valid destination, we'll keep the RCI in the water. And hopefully the airplane and helicopter won't... Oh, there goes the residential bar from the stadium. So I'm losing my residential, and there are no bars anymore. So this undid itself. The commercial should start doing it right here. And if we watch, our industry will do the exact same thing. Yep, there went the commercial. Let's try to get a residential in there. More commercial. Commercial. Come on, resident. Well, you get the picture. These are changing this. Wow. What a mess. And a perfect idea of... I'm so glad I got that on camera. So, I think on that note, we're going to call it a video. And I have no words. Have a great day, everyone.